hello all you Photoshop users out there. Today we're going to look at the dodge and burn tools. Dodge and burn are terms that were used in the darkroom. If you dodge something, you wound up taking light away from it. If you burn something, you added light to it. So we'll look at those two tools today. The easiest way to get there is if you hit the O, which is the shortcut to get to the dodge tools. Then if you hold down your O and hit the shift key and cycle through the tools. We'll first look at the dodge tool, and we're going to work on this corner over here. It's a little dark. I want to bring it up some, but not too much. Dodge and burn tools are destructive tools, so what you want to do is to make an additional layer. You make a mistake, you can always go back and start over on your original. So I'll take this background, drag it down, and make a copy of it. The other thing that I like to do when I'm using the dodge and burn tools is to have a little space around my image. If I'm using one of the tools and I want to go just to the edge and use a large brush, you can see where all of a sudden I can't really work this edge. But if I bring out a little bit of space around my image, that allows me to go a good bit further before I run out of space. First, we're going to look at this area over here. I want to brighten this up a little bit, not too much. I'll use the dodge tool, and I've got it set to midtones. So if I go in and dodge this, you can see where it's brightened this area up. Now this may be a little bit too bright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Edit, Fade, and then I'll bring this down. You can see where it's between the two. That's where it was originally, and I want it just a little bit brighter, and I think that looks pretty good. Now, there are three different sections to the dodge tool. There's the shadow, the midtones, and the highlights. Well, you might ask, what's the difference? Well, I'll show you. Here is an example of using the three type of dodges. If you look in the shadows, you can see where it has basically brought up the blacks in the painting. The blues in the painting are a little bit brighter. You can see where the blacks are not as dark, but it has not affected this windowsill over here at all. If you look at the midtones, you can see where the blacks are still fairly dark. It's mainly these midtones right in here that have been brought up. Again, not a whole lot of effect over here. When you dodge out the highlights, you can see over here where it's really taken these out. It's also brightened up some of the detailing in the cabinets here. So that gives you an example of what you might want to do with the dodging and what results you can expect. The other section that I want to work on here a little bit is right in here. This lamp is a little bright. So if I go in and I'm going to go to the burn, and I can go in with the highlights because that's mainly what I want to adjust. I can go in and dodge this. Well, one of the problems with using the highlight is you can see where that lamp all of a sudden got really dark. I can go in to Edit, Fade the burn tool, and then drop it down just a little bit, and you can see where it's a little bit better than where it was. It looks a little bit more realistic. So I'll click OK. The burn tool also has three settings: highlights, midtones, and shadows. I have examples here of what all of those will look like. If you use the shadows burn, you can see where it has gotten very dark down in here. It's increased the contrast. It's made the blacks blacker. When you use the shadows burn, you can see how it's really affected the contrast. The midtones, it has affected more of the midtones, but it is not as contrasty as it is over here. The highlights, you can see where it's mainly affected the lamp. It has dulled the lamp out to some extent, but this gives you an idea of the differences between the three settings. I'll show you a little bit about the sponge tool now. Go into the sponge tool, and right now it's set to desaturate. Say maybe this yellow is a little bit too intense. I can go in and desaturate this, but it's taking it all the way to a gray since I have it set at 100%. I can go into Edit, Fade Sponge Tool, bring it back down a little bit, and you can see where I still have a little bit of color from that lamp, but it's not near what it was earlier. I can also use the dodge tool and go in and brighten up this bathroom just a little bit. Because it's mainly the dark areas, if I can use the midtone and I can go in and brighten this area just a little bit. So that's a quick look at the dodge and burn tools and what they can do. Hope that helps. More to come.